Hello YouTube! I am Pinstar and this is Tlatoani Strategy and Tactics. So today I've got a build for you. I've got a block for you. And when put to good use, you can make yourself a beautiful, thriving, economically sound city as you see it right here. The build is called the Kinnikinnik build. And I will show you how to make it and why it works. So the heart of a Kinnikinnik block is as follows. You want to start with some roads and you want to make yourself a 6x6 block. And this needs to be 6x6 interior, that is, like so. It's helpful to outline it first before you start plopping the buildings in. Now, why 6x6? Well, there are a variety of buildings that you want to build, and they're in a variety of sizes. So this is not a, copy paste all the day long, and yet it kind of is, where you can lay these on end to end in a sort of a modular fashion. But what you fill them with is going to be different, and yet, well, relatively effective. Let me show you the different ways to build a Kinnikinnik block. First off, we have our 3x3. So in a block like this, you can fit exactly four 3x3 buildings. What 3x3 buildings might you want? Well, it's usually good to start out with one of these because of the mason yard. Mason yard helps get everything else in your city built and maintained, as well as producing the artwork for some of the buildings that require that. So I would highly recommend a mason yard. Second up, we have a small market. Any houses in your city are going to need one of these to get access to goods. So might as well put it in here because it too is 3x3. And while we are on this screen, because we have two, well, rather intensive items here, we're going to get ourselves a porter yard to help store stuff. Both the mason yard and the small market are going to want a nearby supply of goods to draw from. The porter yard is exactly that. And as far as what you want to put in the porter yard, clay, stone, timber. I would hold off on the foods because you can put that in a granary. More on that later. Pottery, certainly pottery. Cloth once you start making it. Cotton once you start making it. And last but not least, we have one more 3x3 slot. I like to put in there the Tlatoani, which is your basic education building. Lots of houses require this early on for them to start growing past the first tier. So getting that down fairly early is useful. It doesn't have any direct synergies with any of these others, but that's okay. So let's speed things up, let this get built up, and I'll show you a couple other blocks that we can build with this 6x6 pattern and how to best make them work. Another tip, don't queue up too much stuff too quickly, otherwise it will take forever for anything to get built. All right, we've got our first little block up here. So now let's actually get into some housing. And this is where we can get a little bit more fancy because most of our housing are 2x2 blocks. So we're going to make a housing specific block. And it does not, when I say housing specific, it does not need to be literally all housing. In fact, you want to kind of mix and mingle some service buildings within it. The other thing to note, and also one of the main reasons why this particular block is the way it is that the game, when it comes to religious buildings, the game cares very much about symmetry. So in relation to other blocks and its own blocks, we want to put things down, temples down, where they can be symmetrical. So now you don't want to go too crazy with the temples early on. Just one to start out with would be good, but let's choose one. I'm going to go with Zyptotech, and we're going to put it right here. Now notice right here in the middle, it has good synergy because it's looking at the blocks and it's kind of like right there in the middle. We're going to get that good synergy up even higher when we build the rest of this block. But let's plan this temple out as well, because people are going to want religion fairly early, at least from one shrine. More housing blocks will get more shrines. All right, now let's do housing like that. And then what we can do over here is for the middle, we're going to want something to improve the desirability. This will help in the long run to help your houses level up. So we're going to do a large gardens right here in the middle, but we can't just plop them down. We need a gardener. We also need a way for people to get to these. If it is completely surrounded by buildings, then you won't be able to build or maintain the gardens in here. So we're actually going to put a little inroad right here. 2 tiles, just like that. Now these 2 tiles, while this prevents us from doing a 2x2 building in this little area, this does allow us to get 2 road tiles and 2 1x1, which are important, one of which can be a gardener. And then we can grab one other 1x1. Get a sweeper, that's fairly important here. And then we can circle back and plop down our large garden. Now this one gardener can handle a lot more than just this one, but we'll be spamming these out a lot. So this one gardener can go pretty far. And then while we're here, we might as well do some other service buildings, at least the super critical ones, like say a well dipper. Well dipper's very important. So I'm gonna put the well dipper up here. But then the rest of the block can be housing. Common houses in here. This will give us the bare bone basics to get these houses up as well as these people level up. So let's fast forward. Get this built. All right, our housing block has been constructed, and as promised, if we look at our shrine here, the synergy bonus is now divine, meaning that is the maximum synergy bonus that we could possibly have here. Because of the synergy of both the block here and its surrounding block, this is giving us the maximum satisfaction to the gods for that particular shrine. Now, there are 6 gods. We are going to want to build more shrines, but what I usually do is I'll just do, I'll make the 6 shrines over the course of the early parts. The first 6 of these sort of circular blocks that I build will contain 1 shrine each. That way we have all of the gods represented accordingly. Another form of block that we can make here is an industrial block. And I like to do this sort of expanding out across our trading post and fortress that you get for free at the start of each. This is a random map, by the way. These can, if you delete the roads along parts of these, we can make these their own 6x6, with these buildings being a 4x4 on their own, and thus completing the 6x6. Now along here, especially alongside the trading post, you can do some of your industries. I would highly recommend kilns, like several of them, both to supply your residential zones, but also to make excess of these things so that we can, get some of these kilns producing for trade purposes. Kilns are a great way to make early money. Also, if you happen to, on any of these zones, including a residential one, if they happen to be near a whole bunch of trees, throw down a saw just so you can get yourself a good wood income. You can always move that later on if it doesn't work anymore. The other thing that you can do in some of these areas is throw down a farmer's hut. If there's going to be patches of land that you can use for farming, you can do this up in your main city as well on the outskirts. It just so happens that our particular map has horrible fertility up here, but decent fertility down here. So we're going to want to make sure our farmers are tapping into some of these floodlands over here. On this side, we're going to do much the same. We'll do another farmer's hut here, and we'll do another SAR up here. I know we have one over here. Some things won't necessarily be able to fit cleanly into these blocks, like these clay pits. These need to be near water, and they can't be next to each other. So build them where you need them as needed. And then along here for other manufacturers, you can also, this is just some wetlands actually. I don't think we have. Yeah, we have a river proper, but that ain't it. It's on the other side of the map. So we'll need to build towards that. But we can use the wetlands over here for something. So once you've extrapolated out some of your zones here, for farmers' huts, if you can find some patches of ground that makes sense, plant them down on the edge there, and then extrapolate the farm fields accordingly. You can also sometimes get cheeky and put like one in here, and then if you have some nooks and crannies that couldn't fit a proper zone or a bunch of zones, throw some farm fields down there. If you have a little block where you really couldn't fit a whole zone, but it's a decent sized thing, throw down a hunter's lodge or something. Throw down a turkey farm. Any number of things you can do for the little odds and ends that don't fit your particular, the particular block build here. And you can see we've already got ourselves a very nice bustling thing. We got another set of houses here. We got another shrine, and once again, divine synergy. So yeah, a couple of businesses around here. Swap this in for a brewery, which this stuff will be making use of. One last block is the noble compound block. Usually this is a 4x4, so you fit one of these inside the Kinnikinnik block and surround the rest of it with either gardens or other support buildings, such as like gold manufacturers and things of that nature that they particularly want. Now, as you can see here, this little plot right here doesn't quite have the full size for it, but rather than sacrificing this, we can just put the block over here and fit in as many gardens as we can. They'll still be pretty happy about it. The extra gardens are also useful for herb production, even if it seems a little bit excessive, but it also helps your noble compound level up. So if you guys like this episode and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment. Good, bad, or indifferent, your feedback's always welcome. So until next time, it's been Pinstar, signing out. See ya.